My name is Daniel Wright. I'm 43 years old, and for the last 7 summers, I've worked as a campground host at Cades Cove inside Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Before I tell you what happened, you need to understand something about these mountains. People disappear here, not often enough to make national news, but enough that the rangers stop acting surprised, enough that longtime employees avoid certain trails after dark. And after what happened last July, I don't walk near Site 73 anymore. Not at night, not ever. If you're listening to this alone, lock your doors, turn the lights down low, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Because this story still follows me, 19 years in the national park system. And nothing has ever made me feel fear the way that night did. During the daytime, Cades Cove feels beautiful. Wide open fields glowing gold beneath the mountains. Historic cabins sitting quietly in the grass. Children laughing while parents take photos beside deer grazing near the road. Cyclists moving through morning fog while sunlight spills over the hills. But at night, the mountains change. The tree line becomes a wall of blackness so thick it looks solid. The wind dies. The woods stop sounding natural. And sometimes, standing near certain campsites, you get the overwhelming feeling that something deep in those trees is watching every movement you make. Not curious, not afraid, just watching. Last July, the campground was completely packed, peak tourist season. Nearly 200 people spread across the campsites. Campfires crackling, kids riding bikes between RVs, generators humming in the distance, people laughing beneath strings of lantern lights. Everything felt normal, at least until around 11 p.m. I was sitting inside my RV doing paperwork when I heard screaming. Not drunken yelling. Not kids messing around, real screaming. The kind that punches straight through your chest before your brain catches up. Pure panic. Multiple voices. Terror. I grabbed my flashlight and radio and sprinted toward the far end of the campground. And halfway there, I noticed something that instantly made my stomach tighten. The woods had gone completely silent. No crickets, no frogs. No nightbirds, nothing. Just the sound of people screaming in fear. That silence felt wrong in a way I can't properly explain. Like the entire forest had stopped breathing. When I reached Site 73, I found a family standing outside their tent in total panic. The father was holding a folded camp chair like a weapon. His knuckles were white from gripping it too hard. The mother had all 3 children behind her, crying hysterically. One little girl was shaking, so hard she could barely stand, and every single one of them was staring toward the woods behind the campsite. Frozen, I asked what happened. The father tried speaking but couldn't get the words out at first. His chest was heaving. Sweat covered his face despite the cool mountain air. Finally, he pointed toward the trees. There's something in there watching us. I turned my flashlight toward the woods. Nothing. Just darkness between the trees. The father explained that they'd been sitting quietly beside the fire after the kids went to sleep when they heard something moving behind the campsite. Heavy, footsteps slow, deliberate. At first they assumed it was a black bear. That happens constantly in the Smokies, so they started making noise to scare it away, but instead of leaving, the thing stopped moving and stayed there, listening. The father said he finally pointed his flashlight toward the woods. That's when he saw the eyes. And the moment he described them, his entire voice changed. You can always tell when someone is describing something that truly terrified them. Their body remembers it while they speak. He said the eyes were wrong, too high off the ground, at least 7 feet up, too far apart, perfectly still, no blinking, no movement, just staring directly back at him from the darkness. Then his wife saw them too, and according to both of them, the thing moved sideways between 2 trees without making a sound, but the eyes never changed height. That was when they started screaming for the kids. I stepped closer to the tree line and swept my flashlight. Deeper into the woods, still nothing, but then I felt it, that feeling, the primal one buried deep inside human instinct. The certainty that something nearby is watching you intelligently, focused entirely on you. Goosebumps exploded across my arms instantly. My heartbeat started hammering in my chest, and every survival instinct in my body screamed at me not to get closer to those trees. I remember realizing something else. Too, the forest looked too dark. My flashlight should have illuminated far deeper into the woods. But the beam seemed to die after only a few feet, as if the darkness itself was swallowing the light. That's the moment fear became real for me. I called out loudly, "Park Ranger, come out now." Nothing answered. Then a few seconds later, knock, a deep wooden crack echoed somewhere in the trees, not random, intentional. Every camper nearby heard it because they all turned toward the woods at the exact same moment. Then, another knock answered farther away. Knock, the entire campground fell silent, and I felt cold spread through my chest because I've spent nearly 20 years working in national parks. I know what bears sound like. I know coyotes, owls, boars, deer. That wasn't an animal. It sounded like communication. Immediately moved the family to an emergency campsite on the opposite side of the campground. None of them wanted to stay near Site 73 another second. Honestly, neither did I. While helping them move their gear, several nearby campers approached me separately. And this is the part that truly disturbed me because none of them had spoken to each other yet. But their stories matched. One older couple reported hearing heavy footsteps circling their RV earlier that night. Another camper swore he saw something tall moving between trees near the bathrooms. One woman claimed she heard breathing inches outside her tent around 10 p.m. Slow breathing, like someone standing there in the dark, listening to her sleep. Every story pointed toward the same section of woods. The next morning, park rangers searched the area. No tracks. No evidence. No damage. Official explanation: black bear encounter mixed with fear and darkness. Case closed. But later that week, one of the veteran rangers pulled me aside privately. This man had worked in the Smokies for over 20 years. Not the type to scare easily. He asked me one question. Did they mention the eyes? The second he said that, I felt cold, because I never included that detail in my report. He told me there had been reports like this in Cades Cove for decades. Tall figures near the tree line. Eyes at impossible heights. Wood knocks deep in the forest. Campers feeling watched, followed, observed. Then he showed me something I wish I'd never seen. Old incident reports. Stacks of them. Different years. Different witnesses. Different campsites. But always the same descriptions. Heavy footsteps. Unblinking eyes. Large shapes standing just beyond flashlight range. And one detail appeared again and again. The feeling, that overwhelming certainty that whatever was out there was intelligent. Not animal intelligence, something else. That was also the first time I heard the old Cherokee stories connected to these mountains. Long before the national park existed, there were places the Cherokee avoided after dark, deep sections of forest where strange watchers supposedly lived. Hair-covered forest beings, territorial, silent, intelligent, usually avoiding humans. Unless humans wandered somewhere, they weren't welcome. After reading those reports, I started noticing things I used to ignore. Certain nights the woods around Site 73 go completely silent for no reason. Sometimes campers wake up claiming something walked circles around their tents for hours. Twice, I've personally found enormous impressions near the tree line that looked disturbingly human, only much larger. I still work at Cades Cove, and I still love these mountains, but I don't see them the same way anymore. Because during the daytime, the park belongs to tourists, but at night, something else moves through those woods. Something intelligent enough to stay hidden. Something patient. Something that watches quietly from the tree line, waiting for someone to notice it. And sometimes, it lets them. I believe that family saw exactly what they claimed to see that night. Because when I stood at the edge of those woods, for just a few seconds, I understood what it feels like to become prey. And every single time I drive past Site 73 after dark, I still catch myself glancing toward the trees, waiting to see two unmoving eyes staring back at me. 7 feet above the ground,